Hello, hi, welcome all of you for this second episode of Tea Time with Tocklai. And thank you very much for the overwhelming response that you gave us for the first episode. There had been a lot of queries and clarifications from planting community. We have been trying to address them on one-on-one basis. The comments which are received at YouTube are addressed there itself. Today we are entering into the second episode. We are going to talk about carbon neutralization and carbon marketing. We have with us today Dr. Rupanjali, who has been working in TRA for more than a decade on this particular aspect in combination with GIS and then climate change. We would like to hear from her the more detailed aspects of carbon neutralization and carbon market. Welcome to the show, Dr. Rupanjali.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
I have a general perception that both scientists and then also the planters have not understood well uh, the meaning of carbon markets. So we would like to hear from you. Do you agree with me, first of all, that it is still not very clear to the people?
Yes, I totally agree with you because so far as scientific community is concerned, they're still aware those who are actually working in this area or those who have the trainings or they know how the carbon market actually works. But for planters, planters who are very proactive, they might have some knowledge, but many of them are still struggling to understand the entire mechanism. And there are a lot of reasons behind that because it's not a transparent market and the policies are still in the process of upgradation. And more specifically, India doesn't have a carbon market of its own. So it has recently CCTS has been formed. India is initiating a own carbon market and which will be fully fledgedly working now or active post 2026.
That's fantastic.
Now the formulations are being done and I hope that we'll have a carbon market of our own.
Yeah. Let's go to the basics. Like, what is it about carbon market? What is carbon positive, negative, and then neutralization? Is there any clear definition of it?
Yes, there indeed is. So, firstly, I'll go with carbon emission. What exactly is carbon emission? So, carbon emission is the release of carbon containing greenhouse gases to the atmosphere. So, carbon positive is something like we are given a cap on emissions, that there's a threshold up to which we can emit. So, if we are emitting more than that threshold, then we are carbon positive. So our emission is more than the amount we sequester. That is carbon positive. And carbon negative is something where we are sequestering more and emission is lesser compared to that.
Okay.
So we are contributing in limiting the emissions. So and carbon positive, carbon negative is also called climate positive. So sometimes we can get confused, carbon positive and climate positive. So those are two different. So climate positive is a synonym for carbon negative. And carbon neutrality is something where the amount of emission we do, we remove the same from the atmosphere. That is, our emission and sequestration are balanced. So that is carbon neutral.
So it's very clear that it is something to do with climate change also. You clearly linked both, like
Yes.
carbon negative is climate positive.
Yes.
So there is a direct correlation
Direct
between.
correlation, yes.
Probably that's the reason why we are talking more about this nowadays.
Yes, sir. That is the reason because every country is bound to limit their emissions at current. And right now, I would say this is the right time, and I'm really thankful to you, sir, that you have taken up this topic because India is coming up with its own carbon market. The players who start now, they'll be ahead of time when we have a full-fledged market in place. So if you start working from now, maybe we'll stand somewhere in the global commitments.
Yeah. In fact, that's a very good point you are making. Suppose if nobody has thought about it, I mean, if someone has not thought about going into carbon sequestration, this is the right time for them to start and then get benefit out of it.
Exactly, sir.
Yeah. What exactly is a carbon trading? What do you mean by that? Because when I say I'm a tea trader, I can see physically what I'm trading when I'm coffee trader, I can see what I'm trading. But when it comes to carbon trading, we don't see anything in our eyes.
Exactly. So that is the thing. What we are saying, unlike a supermarket where we go, we see what is the thing we are buying or what we are seeing. We can physically see. But here, what we are trading is a gas, which we cannot see.
And
That's
colorless gas.
Colorless gas, which doesn't have a smell or anything.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. So that is the major issue, actually, something which we cannot see. I mean, seeing is believing. We don't see. That's why it's sometimes really difficult to believe. So carbon trading is like, as I have told earlier, then there is a cap set by government for compliance markets that you can emit up to a certain limit. So suppose you are emitting less than that, so the surplus amount that has been given to you and you have not emitted, you can sell it in the market.
Okay. And someone is ready to pay, compensate in terms of money or in terms of something else?
In terms of money. In terms of money, sir. And somebody who is emitting more than its permissible cap, then he has to either pay for that extra or has to offset it.
Okay.
So that exactly what is carbon trading means.
Okay. To simplify a little better, to simplify more realistically, let us take the operations that's happening in tea plantation. Like when you go for new clearing, you cut off the trees and go with planting trees. Similarly, you have everyday operations like spraying, plucking, and then on the other side, manufacturing. Which are all the operations here will lead to carbon negative and which will lead to carbon positive here?
Okay, so in the entire tea value chain, right now I'm considering only from farm to gate. So if I talk about that scope, so there are many processes where emissions occur, like in the field, in the cultivation phase, when we apply fertilizers, so that is one of the area where maximum emissions occur. Then the machineries that we use in the cultivation, like use of machines for irrigation or any other activity in the field, so those involved emission. Then in the factories, the use of fossil fuels or the electricity. So and we know that in factory the withering and the drying stages, they involve a lot of energy use. So those are the areas where maximum emissions occur. Moreover, during the packaging, there's some use of plastics are done or whatever packaging material, they also contribute to some extent to this emission. Sometimes double packing is done, which is not required. Also the waste disposal, that is also another. Also the logistics, the transportation, so those also involve a lot of emissions.
Yeah, transportation. Like when you are buying fertilizer, for example, a truckload of fertilizer, it is not the fertilizer emission alone calculated. You will also calculate the transfer of fertilizer from a warehouse to your garden?
Yes.
Emission for that?
Yes, sir. And moreover, the production of the fertilizer, which is not happening here. So that is also included.
That comes our shoulder, our shoulder.
That will come on our shoulder, and that comes under indirect emission. We call it, that comes under scope 3. There are three scopes, scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. Scope 1 is the emissions that occur within our boundary.
Okay.
Whatever fertilizer application or the energy used in factory or the transportation for carrying the leaves and all. The scope 2 emissions are the emissions that occur in some other place, but it is counted here, like electricity. It is generated somewhere else, but it comes in our shoulder. The production of fertilizer, the production of pesticide, all this, they will come under our shoulder in scope 3. And the third, scope 2. And the scope 3 is any other emission that occurs outside, like flight use or anything, carrying and all those things will come. Those are not owned or controlled by the entity.
Okay. When you talk about emission, one side we are talking about carbon emission. Just for a layman purpose, I'm asking this question. Like when you apply nitrogen fertilizers, for example, urea and ammonium sulfate, the emission will be in terms of nitrous oxide, nitric oxide, and things like that.
Yeah.
How is it compared to the carbon emission?
So actually, carbon is considered as the baseline index,
Okay.
whose GWP, global warming potential, is 1. And when it is nitrous oxide, so nitrous oxide GWP, GWP is what? How much emission a gas occurs within a certain period of time.
Okay.
So nitrogen, for 100 years when carbon stays, it is assumed to have a value, index value of 1. And any other gas, it is converted in terms of carbon.
The tea plantations, it's green all over. Still, we are carbon negative. Why is it so?
So green.
Are
Actually,
we
yeah,
carbon
you are
positive
right.
or carbon negative? Because see, we have cleared only the trees and cultivating with other shrub, bush or shrub, whatever it is. So why is it then becoming against carbon trading?
Actually, sir, just being green will not qualify us that we are carbon negative or neutral.
Okay, that's a good point. Actually, many of us are thinking that if you make green environment, then you will become carbon neutral at least.
No, actually, that calculation is required. How
Yeah.
much you are emitting and how much you are sequestering.
So it is about the sequestration. How much you can sequester?
It's not only with the sequestration we can reduce the emissions. We can use by using organic fertilizers, by shifting to renewables. So those are the areas where we can decrease our emissions. So that to go about whether it is a carbon negative or carbon neutral, proper first step would be to calculate the carbon footprint.
Okay.
So what is our carbon footprint? A plantation carbon footprint. How much you are emitting and how much you are sequestering. So for any carbon project, the first step is to calculate your carbon footprint.
See, these are all not in the language of planters, like footprint and then carbon footprint, sequestration and emission. Of course, emission every planter will understand, but then the rest of it is going to be over the head. Of course, as you said, many can understand and many cannot understand also. So is there anything TRA can do to help the planters if they come forward to offer their garden to go into carbon neutralization or carbon sequestration? What kind of assistance TRA can do for them?
Of course, sir, with our expertise, we can help them in formulating projects. Here, I'd like to clarify one thing, that there are actually two types of carbon markets. One is compliance and one is voluntary.
Okay.
So compliance market rules are set by the government. It's very strict. There's a cap on that. And voluntary markets are anybody can go and they say that we are reducing our emissions and this much we have reduced and we need a certificate on this, which we can monetize in the market.
Yeah.
So UNFCCC or Indian carbon market, they do not have any provision for agriculture as of now. They are majorly focused on energy, steel, those kind of industries. So agriculture sector right now cannot enter into compliance market. But yes, India is planning to have one in the agriculture sector also, but right now we don't have. So the only option left with us is the voluntary market, where we can go about this carbon trading. So here what we need to do, first we need to calculate the carbon footprint of the entire garden. Then we have to develop a project where we have to see that maybe, for example, we will go for renewable energy. We'll put in place the solar, and we will quantify that solar will generate how much amount of power. So that equivalent amount we will reduce from electricity. So that is the quantifiable amount, and we can say that this much reduction will take place, and that we will develop a project proposal. So once a project proposal is developed, we need to get it verified. We need to go to a registry, register our project. It will be verified by standards. Different standards are in place. It will be verified, and once it is verified, we will give. I'm just saying in short. There are many other processes also. So we will be given a certificate that yes, this much amount of carbon dioxide is removed from the atmosphere with this project, either removed or reduced.
Okay. And this is meant for a particular year or particular period, or
Yeah, sir, it again depends on the type of project. Suppose if it is a afforestation project, suppose we are planting trees, so it will go for nearly 20-30 years in general. And that 20-30 years, we have a period of 6 to 7 years when it will be again verified. So whether how much, for the first 4 to 5 years, how much sequestration it has done. So it will be calculated and you'll get that benefit. Then post that again, during that period, how much more again it has sequestered. So it's a process. So minimum a project goes for 10 years, but for sequestration and all, it goes for nearly 20-30 years.
Yeah. We talked about the hotspots, and then I think when TRA comes into the project, then also hotspots will be calculated from our side. I hope you have already done some hotspot work.
Yes.
With some, can you indicate where things are more, where things are less? I mean, the emission I'm talking about.
Yeah. So we have carried out a project with support from Hindustan Unilever Limited, where we have quantified the carbon footprint of Indian tea production. Okay, and that is not it gives a number which represents the entire Indian tea industry.
So it will include south, it will include north, yes, northeast, all.
It has included 21 tea estates, including small tea growers also, bottle factories, where we have quantified the carbon footprint, and we have a number for the Indian tea production. What is the carbon footprint?
Wow.
And there is a very wonderful scope that we can go for carbon sequestration of in a large scale, and we can go towards carbon neutrality.
That's very good. So when you compare both factory operations and then field operations, which will be consuming more, I mean, which will make more emission rather?
So far as the Northeast Indian context is concerned, we have found in the study that factory
operations... You have data also?
We have data. We have data. That's so good. One major thing I wanted to say that anybody who wants to go for this carbon trading or entering into carbon market, they need to have very, very, very well managed data with them.
Okay.
Because the assessment period is generally of 1 year. So for that particular year, whatever the data requirements are there as per the GHG protocol, those data needs to be maintained. So we have collected data from all these estates, and we have done the analysis as per the IPCC guidelines and ISO methodologies, and everybody needs to follow that. And we have found out the carbon footprint, and we have found that the major hotspots for the northeastern region is the processing phase.
Okay.
But for Tamil Nadu, South India, we have seen that it's the cultivation phase where they're emitting a bit higher compared to the processing.
Is it because of more fertilizer being used in South or more fuel being used in Northeast? What is the the imbalance?
Because here we are mainly dependent on fossil fuels. Yeah. In South India, they use briquettes and firewoods. Okay. So that makes the difference.
So fossil fuel will enhance the carbon emission.
Yes.
Than the firewood.
Yes. Briquettes. Okay. And also cultivation, because ours is a 9-month crop.
Yeah.
And there is the whole year through it's done 12 months. So that might lead to more emission in the cultivation phase.
Do you have any other data coming from the rest of the world apart from India?
Yes, a lot of work has been done in terms of tea plantation also. Kenya has done, Sri Lanka has done, and the global figures matches with the carbon footprint that we have found out for India. So that's a very good thing. And another thing is in Kenya, what we have seen that their emissions are maximum from the processing phase.
Almost like Northeast.
Almost like Northeast.
Okay.
And that is because of, majorly because of the electricity use and the coal use that is done in factory operations.
Yeah. When we talk about the hotspots, you spoke about cultivation and then also the processing. When you say processing, do you mean the factory processing or the processing that starts from the field in terms of harvesting? Suppose if I use a mechanical harvester, that is coming under field practice or the factory practice in your study?
Practice.
in the field practice.
In the field practice.
So only when the leaf is taken into the truck, that is what you are talking as factory processing. Okay. Now the major scope lies with going into solar power for factories.
Yes.
That will be a major breakthrough to reduce the carbon emission. Apart from going for agroforestry and other things, probably we will talk about it in the next episodes to come, because we wanted to just give overall picture using this episode. So for example, if I am a tea planter with hundreds of hectares, and or I am a small grower with like only a 10 hectare or even less land, is there any difference I make in emission?
So the emission difference will occur because you see, when the area is more, emissions are more. Similarly, your possibility of managing your emission by sequestration, that also becomes more. So you have a provision to earn more credits.
Okay, when the area is more.
When the area is more.
Yeah.
Also, in terms of, if we talk about small tea growers, the area is less, their emissions are less, and their sequestration will be also be less.
Yeah.
So there is the difference. So it has both pros and cons. Also, there's another point is that when we go for this carbon trading, for small tea growers, it becomes a little difficult because the entering into this registry and carbon market, it involves some kind of costs. So that cost for that small area, preparing a project, putting it in the registry, and validation. So this cost can be, managed if a consortium, if many small tea growers come together, and then they put up the project.
That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because and another issue is the capacity building has to be done. And most of the people are not aware. Even me as a scientist who is working in there are still some gray areas where, we don't have, like the price volatility. We don't know how prices will prices happen in the market, because it's kind of negotiation.
Yeah.
The type of project you are doing, you belong to which region, those all matters are there. There are terms like greenwashing, double counting. So I don't think anybody who is not into this field will understand those words. So a lot of capacity building awareness programs is the need of the hour.
Yeah. From our discussion, what I understand is there is quite a lot to do. Even the scientists are having gray areas in the whole chain of carbon trading. Don't you feel that TRI has to conduct a kind of workshop or something for the benefit of the planters and small growers? Is it not the right time to do that?
Sir, you'll be very happy to know that we have planned a workshop which will be meant both for small tea growers as well as big growers. And it is supposed to happen by the end of October or November, first week of November, where we will try to do capacity building of this community, of this entire plantation sector, so that they have a little bit of idea about the entire market and they can move forward towards carbon trading. And also, if any entity is interested to go for voluntary market and put up a project proposal, we at TRA with our expertise can help them and guide them how they can go about it.
I think that's a fantastic news that we will be having one training program or a workshop shortly, and also TRA is having capabilities to assist planting community to get into carbon market if they come voluntarily.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really good. Thank you very much, Dr. Rupanjali, for coming and then attending this show, clarifying a lot of doubts. I know that it is not all. We will have some more doubts. Based on the feedback what we received from the planters, probably we can have one more episode in the weeks to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. It was indeed my pleasure.